straight bonkers. Hello and welcome, Star Wars fans, to this week's episode of Duel of the Ranks, a show where we debate takes so hot that they'd melt a planet with twin suns. My name's Brody, and I am joined by my co-hosts Amanda and Brian as we attempt to discover what story is truly the best from a galaxy far, far away. On this week's episode, we're going to be discussing ranks and hot takes from Ahsoka Season 1, out of who knows however many they're going to make. Chapter Part 8, whatever we're calling those now too. The Jedi, the Witch, and the Warlord. Not really sure what they call this anymore. We're going to have a whole lot of fun talking about this episode of Ahsoka tonight. So buckle up, Star Wars fans. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. We did it. We watched Ahsoka. We watched it from A to Z.
We got through it.
We got through it. Some of us loved it.
It was a little rocky to start off with.
You know, and for some people it finished rocky. But some people it finished just with this epic recovery that can only be surmised in an A+ review.
I can already tell you, listeners, that you're gonna love this episode because guess what? None of us agree on how we rank it. So that means it's going to be good to listen. So let's get into the summary of Part 8, The Jedi, the Witch, and the Warlord. In the season finale of Ahsoka, we pick up with Thrawn asking Captain Enoch to prepare the Eye of Sion for the Chimera's departure off Peridia. The Great Mothers bestow Morgan Elspeth with the Gift of Shadows and the Blade of Talzin for her dedication to their cause. Ahsoka, Sabine, and Ezra race against the clock and overcome TIE fighters and the Chimera's turbo blasters to advance the fortress. The three of them rip through dozens of night troopers, but the magic of the Great Mothers reanimates them from the dead, and the trio must create obstacles to get away and reach Thrawn. Seeing their advancement, Thrawn sends in his final resource to stop them, Morgan. While Ahsoka and Morgan duel at the top of the fortress, Sabine uses the Force to push Ezra onto the Chimera as it's pulling away. Sabine forgoes joining him and chooses to fight by Ahsoka's side and finish Morgan before Hu Yang shows up to help them make a daring escape. As the Chimera prepares to jump to light speed, Ahsoka and crew can't make it in time. At the end of the episode, Thrawn and the Great Mothers arrive at Dathomir. Ezra is finally reunited with Hera and Chopper back at Home One. Shin Hati tries to make friends with the Red Bandits. Baylan Skoll finds statues of the father and son and something glimmering in the mountains beyond. Ahsoka and Sabine make camp with the Noti as Anakin Skywalker's Force Ghost proudly watches on.
Okay, Amanda.
What a great episode.
I'm just going to say, I know you loved this episode. I mean, you gave it nearly not a perfect score, but you gave it a great score. Brian, I'm not sure where you sit on it. I enjoyed it. There's a lot I enjoy, and really, I feel like this entire season, when it comes to the technical aspects, it's a beautiful show. I mean, like the Stormtrooper basically Walking Dead series, we got the crazy distorted sound that wasn't even human under that helmet anymore. Awesome. So many
cool.
Oh yeah. So many sequences with the Night Sisters, and like it was crazy enjoyable. And like, I mean, there are people that were like transcribing what was on the walls of that temple, and it looks like they worshiped this like Zepho, whatever, some warlord guy who was like, I don't know. Anyway, apparently there's a lot there that if you like really read between the lines, not only do you see lore from the past, but you might see where this is going in the future. Yes, with the lore itself, you have the father, you have the son. Where's the daughter? Or at least where's her head?
The daughter's dead.
Yeah, but the question is, where is she on that mountain? And is Baylan looking at Star Wars Mount Doom? Or is it leading to the world between worlds? Is it leading to, who knows, right? So there's a whole lot of stuff with the immersive universe that's amazing. And the music, you get to see Anakin Skywalker in Across the Stars again in any way, shape, or form. You've sold me over. The biggest problem, and it's maintained that itself as being the biggest problem of the show, is it doesn't really know what to do with its characters within this story. The story itself is fine, but it feels like everything just like chemistry feels forced, out of place, especially characters like Hera. Ezra is kind of corny throughout, and I don't really find him an enjoyable character in this series much at all. Like, it's fine, he's in there, but you don't really get any time to like grow with him in this. And I think the only character that I actually really enjoy from A to Z is actually probably two of them. The best character in the show is Sabine by far, and it's not close. And number two is Hu Yang.
Wait, we're gonna ignore Balin?
He had a strong start, but he was one of those just interesting, and it left it at that.
They never answered any questions.
I know. I knew that was going to happen. And hyping up until like this episode, I was like, what do we think is really going to happen? And I was telling myself, the only thing I care about happening in this episode is whatever happens to Balin Skull. That is I'm putting all of my eggs in that story basket. Like, I want to follow him and see where he's going. And of course, we didn't get any Balin until the very end. And it's just like a big cliffhanger in the epilogue, which is sad, mostly because we know that Ray Stevenson isn't around to be able to reprise his role. And I'm just really sad that he never got to see the amazing reception that
he was awesome.
Would have gotten. Yeah. And you know how hard it is to get Star Wars fans on your side. And I feel like universally, everyone agrees that he kicked butt.
Yeah. Yeah. And his character, like, there are people that pointed out, they're like, well, that light, that beacon on top of the mountain he was looking at was orange, like his lightsaber. And he's not dark side. He's not light side. He literally is like, I know everyone hates gray Jedi, that term, but I thought it was really interesting that if anyone like hand wise he's standing on, you just saw Ahsoka looking at that owl that represents the DotR who still lives within her. And you have the Balin, you have him standing on the father's hand.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, you see Shin Hati, who's just driven by anger at this point. She kind of has shown that's where she's been this whole time. And now this ragtag crew, you're like, I just wonder, it feels like you're setting up with these three individuals, the son through Shin. And there's, obviously way more unfortunately for Ray Stevens and his family and everything else. From the Star Wars side, as you mentioned, it's a bummer he didn't get to see that reception. I'm sure they'll do something, recast it, and it'll be great. But his character was really interesting, and it would have been awesome to see him carry this out.
Yeah, I think it's setting up for what could be a really cool video game that takes place in that galaxy. The whole time watching the show, I thought it would work better as a video game anyways. Just a lot of the elements of, the fantasy stuff and with the characters that they've set up in this big, vast world. I just think it's ripe for some gaming content.
It does feel like a video game.
Yeah, but it also feels like, and like with the connection with the Zepho as well was really cool. I'm a big fan of the Jedi series. Those two games were awesome. The third one's going to be super sick. But it seems like with a lot of those cool things that they touched on, like, the world between worlds and the father, that's cool stuff to include. But I still felt like the immersive universe wasn't as well developed, or it doesn't seem very interesting to me because they didn't have any like actual relevance to the plot. Like they could have just put any cool looking visuals out there, and like, yeah, those things were all kind of like hinted at a lot, and they're very closely associated with Ahsoka, but like they didn't do anything with it in this show. They didn't do anything interesting related to the story with the world between worlds.
I hear that criticism. Actually, that's a really good point. I ended up giving the immersive universe a 10 out of 10. I felt like it just like delivered on all aspects there. But that criticism is really fair because like the whole series, we were kind of just waiting, like, oh my gosh, where's Mortis going to come up? Like, where's the father son? Like all these theories and stuff like that. And it just kind of gets like dingled in your face, like just right at the end there. But it does tie in, like it is starting to give us like a clearer picture of the road forward. And I'm really excited about it. Like when the season started off, I was like, I don't know if this is going to pay off, like the hypeflation as we always talk about. But by the end of last week's episode, I was like, I already want season 2 of Ahsoka. Like officially need season 2.
Do we think it's going to be a season 2, or do we think it's just going to go right into this Dave Filoni movie?
I think that seems the most likely. I'm still hoping just for a Rebels season 5 instead. We did not get our Rebels reunion that the show was supposed to be.
No Zeb.
Not at all.
Not even
No.
a hologram.
Did you? I didn't realize until this last week that Kanan, his face, he's actually in the show. I don't know if you guys caught it.
He's in the Ghost.
Cockpit.
Yeah, there's his picture.
Very.
I was like, oh man. No, Brian, going back to your point on this being a video game, there were so many moments where I felt like, oh, this is totally like a Jedi Survivor, Jedi Fallen Order video game, where, I mean, again, Ahsoka in the beginning where she's in those like Zepho ruins or whatever, the ruins, and this last episode, oh, you're on a ship building your lightsaber, customizing it, and you know, I was like, wow, this really does feel like one of those video games. That said, I didn't realize that the ship that Ahsoka is flying is the same ship from the Clone Wars Season 5, where Hu Yang is taking on those Padawans and teaching them the importance of, you know, building their lightsabers and what that means. And I guess Ezra apparently just walks around with kyber crystals in his pocket and was able to put that together.
Maybe they have kyber crystals all over maybe that's one of the cool things about Peridia. I don't know. I mean, he had a lot of time to explore.
Yeah, a lot of time. He's like, I'm going to get one again. And then, the comment about like, I had a second one just for Caleb.
Yeah. You know me. I love any Kanan Jarrus reference I'm going to get. So I was hooting and hollering at that point.
Yeah.
I'm glad they got a little more. Kanan got a little more love there. That was well deserved.
Yes. But to the video game point, like I see we're talking about like, okay, you have like the flood of night troopers coming in and you're like, okay, we just beat the boss. And it's like, oh, just kidding. There's like V2, V3 of the boss that you have to keep like fighting off and stuff. But I thought that all of the lightsaber battles were really well done personally. I thought they were some of the best lightsaber battles we've seen in sort of the new age of Star Wars, especially Morgan Elsbeth, like with her Blade of Talzin. That was just such a cool moment to watch her transform into this like blessed night sister, and that using that blade, which Mother Talzin used in the Clone Wars to battle Mace Windu. If you haven't seen the Clone Wars, go back and watch that. It was also cool that she kind of uses that sword with like two hands. I don't know if you noticed that, like she would kind of like support the blade, and that was just a really great way to counter Ahsoka using two style fighting, you know,
to give her a unique stance as well. Speaking of stances, like Sabine even uses the blaster stance from Jedi Survivor, one lightsaber and one blaster. I think that's the coolest thing in Star Wars.
Yeah. What did you think of the fighting, Brody?
Ahsoka bothered me.
Why?
So much in her fighting. Something was wrong. She, like, Ezra force pushes those stormtroopers, and I don't think they're zombies yet. And Ahsoka just, like, swipes at him and then looks up and, like, smiles. And I'm like, you're enjoying this. like there's something here. I don't know. And it may not be 100% fair, but it feels very like her back's very stiff and stoic, and I'm more used to and again, this might not be fair at all because I'm comparing it to the animation, but where she's jumping everywhere and it's super fluid. And I also just have a tough time buying anyone, like, unless you're like moving like Grievous with those lightsabers. I have a tough time buying someone's like, haha, I am blocking all of these shots. None of you can hit me. See,
I felt like her blocking all of the blasters and stuff, like
literally,
it felt very like Jedi Survivor or Jedi Fallen Order and stuff. Like especially since throughout the episodes we watched Ahsoka retraining and repracticing and trying to like get tuned into like her fighting style again. I felt that was paid off, and I loved how she was fighting by the end of the series. It felt like a good representation of live action Ahsoka. Because you're not going to be able to get it 1-to-1 as we've talked about, but I was happy.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've missed out on another Balin duel. Like, it seemed like that was the thing that they just kept having the same two rivalries come up throughout every couple episodes. And, kind of like a doubles battle, Balin and Shin versus Ahsoka and Sabine. And then I was really sad to not get to see one more time, because it seemed like every time they fought, it progressed in some way and their stances changed. But I will say that her duel with Morgan Elsbeth, I almost forgot her name, with Elsbeth, because she's such a boring character other than this one scene.
I know.
I thought that duel was like one of the coolest duels in all of Star Wars.
Get her! Which is like, it was cool because her like mentor, whatever, the person she's working for, Thrawn, was just like, all right, us Night Sisters.
Go sacrifice yourself.
Yeah, go sacrifice yourself. Meanwhile, Sabine is just like, no, I'll die with you. And they had to like rub salt in the wound a little bit for her. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think I ever really cared for her character. It is cool though, because she is Bruce Lee's goddaughter. Oh. And so there's
Morgan Elsbeth is?
Mm-hmm. And I didn't even realize, like, I was watching New Rockstars today and I was laughing so hard because her name's Morgan, but it's pronounced like Morgan. And when when the guy who was on New Rockstars who was talking about it, he's like, the way you correctly enunciate her name is how you would say it if you were from SoCal and extremely drunk at the bar. Just Morgan.
Morgan.
We have to go. That's how you enunciate her name correctly. Anyway. So yeah, that's probably, honestly, New Rockstar's commentary is probably the most enjoyment I've gotten out of that character. The characters in this show, especially this last episode, it's insane how unendearing they are, boring.
Okay, explain that more. Explain why you gave the characters a 1 out of 10.
Honestly, and I'm going back, the more we've been talking about this episode, the more I'm continuously bringing it down. The music and immersive universe are staying there, but the more Brian's talking, the more I'm just like, what am I doing with myself? Why am I giving these things props? Like, the story, I'm having a tough time justifying a 2.8 even for myself.
Okay, let me tell you why I gave the story then a 9 out of 10.
Oh my.
Okay, ready? So as I've been very clear in this, as we've been reviewing this, I haven't been totally bought in so far, but I gave the story a 9 out of 10 this episode because I felt like I really didn't know what direction it was going to go. I didn't know if Thrawn was actually going to get off planet. I didn't know if Ezra was going to make it, if Sabine was going to join her, like, was Ahsoka actually going to get left behind, or, what was all going to happen. So because that it felt unpredictable in those senses, I was really happy with just being along for the ride. I felt present in the moment as I'm watching it, and it just delivered on a lot of things that we love about Star Wars. We got tons of fights. We got Sabine crashing the Jedi ship into those TIE fighters. That was cool. We got, and we had been wanting, I had been wanting the reanimated zombie troopers, like, that we had all been hoping for. So I'm glad that we got that. For me, I think this episode delivered in what every Star Wars fan wants to see in this new age of Star Wars. So
I don't know about every Star Wars fan. I hate action personally. I think it is just, I would rather them just be sitting around talking about politics more.
Yeah.
No, as long as it's not just exposition dialogue, like, I'm all for more talking and less action. But it seemed like a lot of the action in this, especially in the last 3, when did they even get to pretty? 5 or 6? Yeah, I guess episode 6. The last 3 episodes, all of the action scenes felt kind of obligatory, kind of just like, oh, here's like a very generic marauder, let's throw them in there. Oh, no, the ship's hovering over these guys. I as soon as I saw the ship was hovering over the turtle dudes, I knew that it was gonna crash or something on top of it. It was like, I don't know. It just as far as action set pieces go, like the zombies were cool as frick. But like most of the rest of it was like not nearly as cool. Even like as a prequel fan who loves these big set pieces, still didn't really meet that need that for me, even as a fan that prefers the more kind of, you know, the dramedy of Star Wars.
I actually brought my story down. The more Amanda was talking about why crazy story, I had it at 2.8. It's a 2.4 now because the more you were talking about it, the more I was like, wow, everything that's good about this story is baked into the immersive universe. We don't care about this show on its own at all. Which, hey, look, let's be fair. Let's be fair. That's a lot of Star Wars. But this specifically, it's like how many awesome things, and there's so many awesome things, and I want to highlight those. This show is enjoyable. It's worth watching. You should check it out. But please watch all 6 seasons of Clone Wars, 7 whatever it is, and all 5 seasons of Rebels, because if you don't, this show isn't that great on its own 2 feet. If you haven't watched the prequels, there's this long-haired guy that's going to just like throw you through a loop too. So honestly, this show doesn't stand up on its own 2 feet. It isn't that strong in of its own. The acting is fine. It's I don't want to hate on the actors too much. Maybe it's the writers. I don't know what went on into this, but there's so much of their performances that feel unbelievably hollow. Hera's presence isn't even close to warranted. Ezra feels like a cornball, which is unfortunate because I want to know more about him. I just don't think there was a lot of screen time to actually fit that in there.
Not enough. Yeah.
Yep, and they were trying to do a whole lot. And look, this show displayed Dave Filoni has to this point done animation directing. I really love Dave Filoni. I want him to do more, but boy, oh boy, we need more great storytelling, less Easter eggs. We saw what can work with Andor. You pepper some stuff in there from there, and it's going to be a whole lot of fun. But right now, when I watch Ahsoka and I watch it on its own, it's like, it's dessert. That's what this is. It's dessert. It's not good for you. It's not great storytelling. But look, don't eat too much of it. It's not good for you, but it is 100% fun every now and again. So when I break it down and sound like I'm destroying it there, all that to say, I did very much so enjoy the show. It's the only Star Wars show I've actually screamed when Anakin came out, and hey Snips, like I don't care. I don't care about the story. I don't care about characters. That moment, fine, I'll take it. But with all of this, it feels more like a fan film that, is unfortunate because I think with some minor changes and just like the sequels, very clear direction, I would have a much different feeling about this show. And personally, I know it's number 2 for us for Star Wars shows, but with a great story, I don't see how this isn't the best Star Wars show of all time.
Mm-hmm.
With a solid story. It had everything.
I think the acting, and maybe that comes onto like the directors and the writers a little bit more on how like they were like given direction for how to portray them. I ended up giving the characters, I kind of gave them the benefit of the doubt this final episode, because even in the small scene with Hera seeing Ezra for the first time, I was like, wow, that's the most emotion I've seen on Hera's face all season. And I was like, I actually feel this now, which is kind of sad for sure. It's sad, but I was like, all right, you know what? I will give a point to that because I felt something in that moment.
Yeah. Well,
overall though, like the whole season as a whole, not the same experience.
Exactly. All right. With all that to be said, before we go into the hot take segment,
we're not going to even talk about like everything else.
What is everything else? What is everything else?
I don't know. I felt like we didn't talk about it enough yet.
I think it was funny. You were talking about the characters, mentioning how boring all of them are, and you forgot the titular character of the show because she was so boring.
I know. That's what I'm saying. And honestly, though, I'm not going to blame anyone for that. That's just a Star Wars thing. Like, the next time Book of Boba Fett comes around, I'm just going to cry. Like, just make another Mando season. And if Boba's in the promo, I'm like, oh, sweet. It's going to be Boba's season. Great. Like, that's what we've come to expect from Star Wars writing. This is a very unfortunate hate fest because there's so much I love about it. So why don't we steer into those things, Amanda, that you talked about? I'm going to spend like...
I want to be happy.
Oh, like one thing that was awesome. You would go back and you think about the Bendu, right?
Mhm.
And how he told Thrawn, he's like, I see your end. And it's like many cold arms surrounding you and a just firm embrace kind of thing. And I think it was supposed to mean the whales. But now, okay, we see he's got this agreement with the Witches of Dathomir, or whatever they're from, and they're going to Dathomir. And it seems like this is pretty basic. It looks like they've got what looks like the story is here, that all of these sleeping people from this planet, right?
Sleeping.
They were supposed to go
nap.
to, they were supposed to, I feel like at some point, go to Dathomir. Maybe there was a conflict, right, with the father and son, maybe whatever, right? Maybe they stole something and they wanted to leave, go to Dathomir, but they were clearly sleeping. They addressed that Morgan got to them via their dreams, right? So there's something with that, and Thrawn woke them up, right? So their whole incentive is to go to Dathomir. Looks like populate the planet with all these, looks like cryogenic sleeping chambers, something. And so that's the exchange. Well, you can get if he works with them to get Morgan there, he gets to go home and he'll send them to Dathomir and they'll set that whole thing up. And so that was really cool, but he's kind of got to deal with the devil going on right now, where you just know it's not going to end well. And I've got these like Scar flashbacks where you've got this brilliant, inventive leader who's unbelievably calloused, and he's working with this crew of people that I'm like, this is what's going to be your demise, because the Force was always the one unpredictable variable for him. He hated the Jedi because he was so tactical and he couldn't figure that out. Well, now he's worked with people, he's kind of got them on his own side, but what happens when he outlives his usefulness? And I just see all these zombie hands just taking him out, and that being what Bendu is referencing. So yes, stuff like that, the immersive universe, so cool. And yeah, thank you, KG. The sisters fear Abeloth. So
yeah, everyone's talking about Abeloth too.
Which is from Legends, right? That's not canon.
No.
Okay.
But it was like post Clone Wars Legends, so it's kind of like in that weird
recent
area.
Legends.
Yeah, there's still connections to canon things.
Right. So Jeffrey Miller's in the chat saying, I was lost most of the time because I haven't seen any of Rebels. And you know what I'm going to say? Fix that. Come on, right now. I also went back today to season 3 of Clone Wars and watched the Mortis arc again because it's been too long. I haven't seen it in forever. And I wanted to see if it, drew anything up to remind me about what's going on in this episode. And the biggest connection I saw was the temple, I guess, on Mortis has sort of that glimmering Eye of Sauron type of thing that Balin kind of sees in the distance. So is this like a checkpoint or another specific temple for this Force energy?
I just really liked KG's comment here. She wrote in creepy mouth mother, bringer of chaos. And that just I don't know why I was thinking of Mother Talzin or someone having a LinkedIn. And that being summary.
Professional bringer of chaos.
Creepy mouth mother, bringer of chaos.
You do you, girl.
Add as connection. Anyway. Yeah, no, that's what made this show awesome, right? We got the Purgle. We got to go to these new planets. This show explored outer space more than any other Star Wars show before. And there's so much like inspiration from other lore. Like, yeah, this title alone, The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, there's Norse mythology, there's biblical parallels. Dave Filoni pulled on from a lot that inspired this show. So hats off to him, because like it's unbelievably impressive how many things, like how many nods there were. Oh, and the music. Do you guys recognize the music, that the violin that's playing when the stormtroopers are waking back up, right, from their when they die? There's a violin that's playing, and it's this classical piece from the 1800s that's continuously played in other like horror films like Dracula, and it's used in that, what's that Taika Waititi thing, that the Things We Do in the Dark or something like that.
What We Do in the Shadows.
We Do the Shadows. Almost. Just off by one word.
Like the title of this episode, just change some words around. Anyway, yeah, it was just cool, because it's like, yeah, we're gonna like teeter now into like this horror thing, and it's it's October now, so Halloween, Ahsoka, like, let's go. Yeah, so there lots of stuff like that were super cool to see this season.
So what were our final scores for this episode?
Well, I gave it a 52.4%, which I totally stand by.
I gave it a 91.4%.
That blows my mind. We didn't even give Empire that good of a review. That blows my mind. Like,
Brian, what did you score it?
I still need to do some more finite tuning of the math. I got like around a 60, but that still seems a little high for me. So I got, and I've still only seen it once. I need to see it a second time to really.
Yeah.
But it's going to be around there. Overall, I think it earned a failing score as an episode, and structurally within the season. Like, I think, for a finale, it's probably like one of the most boring finales I've ever seen. No,
I agree.
Like you can't it's okay to be slow and build to something if there's actually like something to build to. I love slower paced stuff, but the only thing they were building to was just like random action sequences, and then not really any firm answers. And even the stuff about like the world between worlds didn't have much like dialogue about it or explanation, which I'm not the kind of guy that always demands to know how everything works, but like a little something would have really helped this show.
Dude, can you imagine if like the folks who did Andor and Filoni, they just collaborate on that Filoni film? That thing would be so solid.
I am not looking forward to this Filoni film. And
why?
Just because like I am not a Marvel girly. I am not looking for you to fit as many big name characters as possible into one smushed up, crazy, unrecognizable film. That is not what I want. I do not want like an Avengers or whatever. I think that's tacky and so 2011. Like, let's move on from that.
Oh, but I just think you're wrong.
But I do want season 2 of Ahsoka. I want whatever comes after this, because now I feel like there's a story to tell.
If you have listen,
now there is.
if you have on Dathomir, you have the Night Sisters, you have an army, you have some level of some Maul-esque presence. You have
the Clone Wars, which was also a series, and it was great.
Yeah. But basically, this is the Clone Wars. But you can also have an Luke Skywalker and Ahsoka and Ezra and Sabine and Boba Fett and Bo-Katan.
And you could do it in a series where each of them has more of a meaningful arc than just 10 minutes of screen time.
Can you imagine? Like, Thrawn is like the most perfect Thanos villain. He's like, you could
it's already recycled. You're already recycling it.
I don't care. I want to see it in Star Wars. I know what I like, and I want that. I don't know. I just see it. Like, they're opening. Just think about it. They're on Dathomir, and it's like basically Mando and everyone, like Thrawn, everyone's just beating him down. And like his buddies, like Bo-Katan, everyone's laying there nearly dead. And he's about to just break him. And you just see Thrawn's, I am inevitable. And all of a sudden, the world between worlds open up. There's Ahsoka on your left. There's a TIE fighter coming, or no, sorry, an X-Wing that comes down. There's Luke. There's R2-D2. Baby Yoda comes out, and like, I don't even care. I don't even care. That would be the greatest Star Wars moment ever for me. Boba
That
Fett
sounds
comes
like
in-
all
like
of
the
the
worst
reasons
movie
that
I've ever
everyone
heard of.
hated, like Rise of Skywalker. You know,
They
But
kind
they
of tried
didn't
that in
hate
the Rise
Endgame.
of Skywalker.
yeah,
They didn't hate Endgame though.
That
Avengers
was
Endgame did
done
so well.
I'm gonna start insulting Marvel fans, so we should just move on.
Okay. Well, okay, so we're done with this season. And although it sounds like we tanked it, as even though I said there are many amazing elements of this season, it ended up being the number 2 show of
Behind
all,
Andor.
right behind Andor. At number 8, right now, we have the Clone Wars, which again, we've only reviewed season 1, so don't come at us yet.
Not even all of season 1.
Oh, that'll do it.
Yeah. So, and then number 7, we have Tales of the Jedi at 67.38%. We have the Bad Batch at 68.41%. Number 5, we have the Book of Boba Fett at 71.75%. Number 4, we have Obi-Wan Kenobi at 78.04%. Number 3, we have The Mandalorian at 78.73%. At Ahsoka, we have 80.10%, and number 1, or 80.1%. And number 1, we have Andor at 80.18. So by
Wow.
0.08, Andor
Wow.
is better than Ahsoka. So Andor's
See,
really not that much better.
I feel like if we were to rewatch Andor, I would give it like probably 100 across the board.
After
'Cause-
watching this, I would. Yeah, Andor's a perfect
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
I don't think that's true though, because remember early on, it was very slow.
Because we didn't know what it was going to do. Now I feel like if I watched it and I binged it all the way through, I'd be like, I could watch 20 seasons of this.
And even when it was slow, there was so much tension, and each 3
Mhm.
episodes had a whole arc, and each episode had a structure.
Well, let's be
within that
fair.
arc and a purpose.
We all know when Andor season 2 comes out, that 80.18, like, which I feel
That
is
least
still
trailer.
fair. We already know that show's gonna like
Mhm.
rise the rankings and just make it like, oh, I remember 80.18 was like, oh, no one can catch me. And then Ahsoka's like, I'm
Mhm.
almost there. And Andor's like, hold my beer. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and break some more records here and win some Emmys. So, all right. With that, let's go into the hot take segment of the show.
Don't be too proud of this podcast you've constructed. The ability to rank content is insignificant next to the power of an exceptional hot take.
All right, it is hot takes time, and I've got one. Well, first off, I saw KG's comment at that 98%. I hope you're talking about Andor and not Ahsoka. If so, I need to know why you didn't give it a full 100.
Yeah.
Let's pull out the last 2%. My first hot take. I said it earlier. Sabine is not only a better character than Ahsoka this season. She's like 2 times better. She's watchable and enjoyable. Ahsoka is only enjoyable when, as I've said before with her character, this show confirmed it. Ahsoka is only enjoyable when there are amazing people around her. She alone, which is unfortunate because that was not always true. In the Clone Wars, she had some really awesome character development there, and she was enjoyable and great. After that, she became pretty stoic and boring, whether it's in the book form or this. So, yeah, Sabine, she's the actual star of this show.
I don't think it's a hot take, but I think we've seen this time and time again every time we review a Star Wars show that has a titular main character and the main character falls flat for us. So that kind of falls in line with where we've reviewed a lot of other things. I still wish we would have gotten more Sabine in a lot of ways. like, I feel like we didn't really get to emphasize how amazing it is that we have a Mandalorian force wielder again. Like, she truly found the force this time, and it wasn't, we had been building up to that, and I knew it was going to come at some point, but like, that's a big freaking deal.
Yeah.
Oh,
that is a really big deal.
For sure. And I think my favorite scene of the show is still Sabine's introduction.
Yeah, with the music and her like,
yeah,
dude, that was
so
cool. The only thing missing, I was telling Brody this, I was like, the only thing missing from her character is like, I think maybe in that second episode, she's training with a like tank top on. And I was like, if you really wanted to make her the bisexual queen that I know that she was missing armpit hair. But you know, you got to placate to all audiences, so I understand.
See, I don't understand that because I never felt this way until this season, but I'm getting like real like Simba Nala vibes from these two, where it's like she's like, I just need my friend, and they like, you know, see each other. She's like, oh, where have you been this whole time? He's like, I miss you. I'm like, these two are totally should not be left alone in a room together. Otherwise,
like, Ezra was crushing hard on her back in Rebels.
So explicitly stated that he was in love with her.
Yeah, but like now, like she's into him.
I don't think so.
It's so ambiguous. It's frustrating, just like The Force Awakens too, with the love and the sequels overall. Just like no one wants to address love because they're too afraid of
I know.
I don't get it. just love each other.
I am pro Star Wars has always been about love. I want more love in Star Wars, but I do not see Ezra and Sabine together. Maybe that's my hot take, is that I think that if they do put Ezra and Sabine together, it's like writing like Harry Potter getting with whatever her name was, Ginny. It was like the easiest, like to like no real like actual brain went into that. I don't know. Maybe I'm going off on my own tangent.
No, I think, as a hopeless romantic myself, like, I'm always rooting for like the on-screen kiss, but also Frozen taught me that love isn't just romantic love. You know, it's bigger than that. So I do like it when they're actually able to say something kind of significant about love. You know, something important and meaningful about it.
Sorry, KG's just getting me in the comments today. I can't even read this one on the show. Moving on. Okay, yeah. So what we're saying? I'm milquetoast. Is that what we're saying?
I'm saying you're milquetoast.
Yeah.
All right, fine. I'm milquetoast. I'll take it.
You fool! Your take is milquetoast.
Are we addressing Amanda's comment about she doesn't want to see those two together?
KG
Are we addressing her comment that she thinks that Sabine is bi? What should we address in what you just said, or is there more you want to add?
KG is in the comments. She says, I kind of dig Ezra Bean. First of all, terrible name. Did you see how the way he held on to her riding the Howler? Yes, I did. I thought that was really cute. But again, it kind of felt like BFFs. So I like to, like, in my own headcanon, since like we don't get a lot of queer Star Wars characters in the universe, that we sort of have to like pick and choose like where we see representation when we find it. And so in my headcanon, I was shipping Sabine and Shin Hati the whole time. I was like, Shin Hati.
Stop it.
Shin Hati.
I didn't get that. By the way, there are fans everywhere going crazy for Shin Hati. They're like,
she's a babe.
That
Darth Joan of Arc.
I have seen so much about that. And whenever Hera is facing the opposite direction, as far as memes this season goes,
to the yams.
That's literally all I've seen this season. And I'm like, I'm not getting it. Like, what is it about Shin Hati that people are like, that's everything? I'm like, she's actually scary.
Yeah.
What is it that people are like, nah? I don't know. Like, she's like, I'll hang out with you. And then, like, you're like, hey, where did Rufus go? She's like, I killed him. And you're like, that's the vibe I get. You're like, oh, You slit my dog's throat. Cool. Like, I can't say anything to you because you're crazy. That's the vibe I get with Shin Hati. Like when she like looks at those guys and she's like holds her arm up,
Yeah,
lightsaber, zzz, and I'm like, first off, I'm
that
just
reminded
Rohan.
me.
But then
Yeah.
like it's just like she's just got this blank look in her face, like I'll murder someone right now.
She's really lost. She's kind of like a lost puppy right now. And I am pretty disappointed with where her character ended up. Like she had such a strong presence at the very beginning and I was really intrigued by her going on. And then once like her and Balin split and she was just all of a sudden like this free for all, like young girl, no guidance, doesn't really know what she wants. Like it just felt, I don't know. Like I just didn't know what to think about it. There wasn't any, it didn't make me feel a certain way. I was just like, what?
So what's your hot take?
My hot
You
take
said a lot.
is my hot take is that in season 2, Shin and Sabine are going to rekindle their romance.
Rekindle.
They'll be stuck on that planet for a while.
Yeah.
Brian, don't entertain it. It's not happening.
Why not?
There was nothing there. Her armpits are shaved for
Oh,
Ezra.
Clearly she can't be gay. Her armpits are
She's been
shaved.
shaving those things for years. For him, you never know when he's going to turn around. She can't like be sending signals like, "Oh, I wasn't training with Ahsoka that close, Ezra. Come on." No, if you're shipping her with anyone, it's Ezra. It's going to be the basic storytelling thing. Shin Hati is going to die alone.
I hope not.
That would be so sad. I think like, the last words Balin said to her were like, "Go take your place in the coming empire," and then they ditched her, and her master ditched her. Like if I don't know if Balin is still around and in the future, I would love to see him be like, "Oh hey, you're still here? All right, let's team up then. Let's
You're still
do
here.
your thing."
Honestly, I thought you were dead meat.
I thought you were gonna go. No, I mean, I thought you were gonna go to the other galaxy and do the thing that you wanted to. I wanted to help you support your goals and ambitions, but hey, now that we're here, let's just keep training and become super cool Sith. Not Sith. Super cool something.
Why do you think she didn't go back?
I don't know. The story didn't really give us any
She
real.
didn't have a ship?
strong-
I don't know.
I got more questions than answers this
She
last
didn't have a
episode.
ride?
Yeah.
Sometimes that's good. I don't know. For some things, that's how science is. Science is always asking more questions than it answers. But like for a TV show, when you're supposedly building to something for that, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I saw a lot of like, it seemed to me like Lord of the Rings parallels as far as like just the cinematography goes with the wide shots. I was like, is this filmed in New Zealand where they're at? Like, where are they here? And you see like the stormy mountains with the light, like I said, like Mordor. You see her writing these things. It's just like in the types of shots and the angles they used, it seemed very Peter Jackson-esque. Like there'd be moments where they're in the mountains and these wide shots of that and kind of set you up, and it was really pretty to see. But yeah, I mean, I thought that when she's up there on top of the warg it is, and she's riding in on that, it's really cool. I completely lost track of Amanda's take, but yeah, I don't ship those two, so I guess, and neither does Brian. So ultimately,
I think everyone should love each other.
Okay.
I got a bad feeling about this hot take.
Except that Ewok. That Ewok in that clip didn't get any love.
He got obliterated. Poor guy.
All right. Well, with that, it's time for the last segment of the show.
I do have one hot take if y'all will have
Yeah.
it. If it's not too late for
Sorry.
it, just slip it in there. No,
You
you're
are
good.
an
It's been a
official
long
host.
segment. I'm a
You are an official host.
Some
The audience
respect
is
on my
like,
name.
you're not giving him rankings. He can't submit.
Oh,
a
I'll
hot
be
take.
doing some rankings. You better believe it. But
Yeah.
as far as like content this year has gone, like I'm finally glad to be at a point. There's nothing else coming out this year, right? Like we're
I don't
done.
think so.
So like other than Jedi Survivor, I think Bad Batch is clearly by far the best thing we've gotten in Star Wars this year. I don't know why y'all are such Bad Batch haters. I know a lot of people say there's a lot of filler. It's up and down. Have you watched the Clone Wars? It's like all filler. Like there's no story to that show at all. But like Bad Batch has like a very interesting,
you think
deep,
Bad
dark
Batch
story.
Season 2 is better than Ahsoka?
I think it is a million years better than Ahsoka. I think Bad Batch
that's a
Season
good hot
2 actually had a surprising ending and like real plot twists instead of, oh, these guys got off the planet, these guys didn't. We spent 3 whole episodes asking that question. Okay. Bad Batch is going places and it's fitting so snugly into like, I know there's a lot of stuff happening in that time period, but it's like right towards the Revenge of the Sith time, end of that time period. And it's the most interesting time of the established timeline. And Bad Batch is doing so many cool things with it.
Justify episodes 1, 2, 4, 9.
No,
10.
I mean, I saw
right,
Brian's face as you were reading through our rankings for all the shows, and he was just like, "What?" But I will say that season 2 of Bad Batch was way better than season 1, and I agree it's a hot take, and
It is a hot take.
it is a hot take.
Cool.
I didn't rank it in a way that says that I agree with the hot take, but I vote to give him a Roger. I think that's a great hot take.
It's a great hot take, but you don't agree with him. You don't agree that Bad Batch Season 2 is better than Ahsoka.
You don't have to agree with me. That's fine. The world won't agree with me.
But like I do see what you're saying. Like I hear the argument and I'm not like upset about it.
You really want to give him a Roger?
I hope Brody
He
is.
almost moved on without giving him a hot take.
I know, right? What do you think?
I think it's not true. There's no, it's not better than Ahsoka. Ahsoka has its flaws, yes.
Yeah, you're right. I disagree.
Okay.
I disagree.
Yes, look, Brian, it's an amazing hot take. And honestly, you're not wrong, right? These are all opinions. But from my opinion, where I sit and the work that went into Ahsoka from the visual perspective, the technical aspects, the music in this show, significantly better than Bad Batch. And its ceiling is just higher than Bad Batch's. Now, Bad Batch, what I will say is there wasn't a single episode of Ahsoka that matched Bad Batch Season 2 episode. I'm pretty sure it might be episode 12, where it's focused solely on Crosshair and he's out on that snow planet. That was some of the best Star Wars
I love Crosshair.
Ever seen. Oh yeah, Crosshair's phenomenal. Oh yeah. So overall,
so much more interesting than any other character in Ahsoka.
I agree. I totally agree. And I do think the Bad Batch's story is significantly better than that of Ahsoka's. That said, there were a lot of crappy episodes in season 2 as well that weighed it down, unfortunately, for me. So, but they could resolve that. Season 3 or all the multiple seasons that come out.
Oh, there's only be one more left, so they're wrapping it up.
Okay, well, overall, Bad Batch is a fun show, and season 2 is significantly better than season 1. And for that, I do hear what Amanda's saying too. I agree it's a hot take. I just don't fully agree it's better than Ahsoka. So sorry.
I can accept that.
I got a bad feeling about this hot take.
Ooh,
all right.
We have one more hot take in the comments that I have to bring up. Hyperspace Heroes podcast just showed up and said the Book of Boba's theme music is better than the Ahsoka main theme.
Yeah, totally.
I agree.
Bum, bum,
yeah. That's a tough one. I don't know. Super cool.
Boba Fett.
So
you can't do Ahsoka.
It's deep epic chanting. You just, what more do you want?
It's very tribal. It's very
you go ahead and give that an old.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, Hyperspace Heroes.
That to be said, though, I mean that Ahsoka music's pretty great. All throughout,
yeah.
I think the climax kind of underwhelmed me. I will say I don't. That's like my one complaint of the show. Like the climax was Ahsoka flying towards the Eye of Sion, right? She's trying to catch up with them, and that's when Thrawn's giving his "I've already won" speech. That was a perfect time to like ramp up some tension. And I went back and I watched that scene because I remember feeling nothing. And yeah, the score isn't really, there too much. It's not very, exciting and engaging. Like that's the opportunity to make something out of a boring episode, or episode 4 was a boring movie until they edited it and put a score over it. Like that's how it's supposed to. And that was like the one opportunity that they, I think, just kind of maybe fell a little short on. But other than that, the soundtrack was amazing and went places Star Wars has never been, went places Star Wars has been, and really really brought out the emotion in most of the scenes.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we are 100% done with this season of Ahsoka. Amanda has another thing to say.
Yeah, we have to pick up and check out our bingo cards because now we are officially done with the season. And I'm trying to see if I can share my screen, but I may not be able to. So that means that I'm just going to have to read through all of the numbers that got chosen in our bingo this year. So I'm going to start from the top and repeat everything that we've covered so far. We got number 1, World Between Worlds appearance. Number 2, live action Clone Wars flashback. Number 3, setup for Heir to the Empire. Number 6, Hayden Christensen physical appearance. Number 8, Darth Vader physical appearance. Number 9, Sabine is force sensitive. Number 10, Ahsoka is referenced as Snips. Number 11, Ahsoka is referenced as Fulcrum. Number 15, Trip to Coruscant. Number 16, Kanan reference. Number 19, Morai reference, which we got there right at the end. Number 21, father-daughter-son lore. 23, animal telepathy. 24, Jason Syndulla. 30, Lothal appearance. 33, Purgles. 34, I have a bad feeling about this. 37, Sabine wields a lightsaber. 45, Sabine gets a kill. 46, Morgan Elspeth dies. 47, Rex appearance. And finally, 50, Ahsoka's theme. So if you didn't catch that, hit the rewind button and listen again. And if you did get a bingo card, reach out to us so we can verify and send you some cool swag.
Woo, yay, bingo!
Yay, bingo. That was a lot of...
have a little effect.
Yeah,
little...
I know, right? Wait.
Confetti
Does
thing.
it work?
Hey, bingo!
Thanks for the new OS update.
Only Amanda's happy about it.
Yeah.
And all the non-video viewers, you just missed something like amazing on
Super
Amanda's
cool.
end.
You
AI
should
is
really-
crazy.
That's a great reminder that if you aren't subscribed to our YouTube channel, that's the place to get the most up-to-date content. Even sometimes when Brody forgets to post the episode, you can always watch the live episode on their YouTube channel.
True.
A slight little dig if you didn't catch that, but
100%. Yeah, it's like I've got, it's crazy because all I do is sit around and just
and
stare
watch
at
Star
the wall.
Wars.
And watch Star Wars. And it's
What
like,
else
why
could there
did the
be?
episode go out? And I'm like, I don't know.
Didn't
This
feel like it.
wall, I've been watching paint dry, and it's like, it's so interesting. Honestly, though, if that ever came out of my mouth, Amanda, you should be very concerned and help me find help.
Yeah.
I don't think I could. I can't sit in one place for long.
No.
Right? Well, that's this week's episode of Duel of the Ranks. Go find us on dueloftheranks.com. We've got all our stuff out there. We're going to be adding a lot of cool stuff as the show goes on. I told you before episode 100, we had cool stuff planned for this year. We're working on a studio. Actually, you don't even know this yet. It's done now, and it's insane. We added a new co-host and producer in Brian. And you won't even believe it to say, and if you missed that like beautiful homage video that, you know, someone with amazing videography talent put together, then go back and watch that 100th episode. A whole lot of cool stuff. And guess what? There's more. Lots of other cool things coming down the horizon. We're really excited to announce it. Seriously, 2 years from now, the show's not going to look the same, but you know, we will, because we don't age.
It's true.
We just have Elijah Wood DNA. We're just going to look like this and do DOTR for 100 more seasons.
I love it.
So until next week, Star Wars fans, thanks so much for listening. And we look forward to bringing you back to discuss some Clone Wars. So KG, you got some homework to do. You know what's coming. We are excited to have you there. See you next week.